Welcome to the Libra podcast, where education leaders explore the intersection of culture, strategy, and innovation in today's schools. I'm your host, Nate Lichte, and in each episode, we'll uncover the leadership habits, systems, and bold ideas that help districts thrive. Well, Rusty, thank you so much for sitting down with me today and just sharing some of the good things that you're doing in your district. And I'm excited to hear more and learn more about the work that you're doing. Would you mind, maybe for the folks that are listening and tuning in, maybe giving an introduction about yourself and telling us a little bit more about your organization, your district?
Yeah, I'd love to. And thanks for having me, Nate. I appreciate it. Basically my job is I'm the superintendent for the Lakeland Joint School District. And this is I'm going on my third, almost fourth month in the position. So it's been kind of a wild ride. I was hired late. And so that made it a little bit more complicated. Fortunately, it was kind of a 3-year plan that my wife and I had devised. We were in year 2, so it kind of sped up things really quickly. So I'm pretty good about spontaneity and read and react. So I was a coach for many years and a teacher, obviously. So read and react. As in my background, just a little bit of information. I've been doing it for almost in education for almost 30 years. Before that, I was actually a food and beverage manager at the Grand Canyon. So that was a really good experience, but just wanted something a little bit more. So I went back to school. I'm kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to education. I've done almost everything. I've been a paraprofessional. I've been a special ed teacher. I've taught multiple subjects: world history, civics, government, mathematics. Whatever they asked me to, I taught it. And that's really served me well. I did that for 12 years when it comes to administration, because obviously I can speak on multiple subjects. I mean, science is probably my one area that I have not taught. I'll be honest with you. Everything else has been, pretty good, and at multiple grade levels. Obviously I have not went below 6th grade, but still, middle school, elementary, right there on that cusp. So it's real nice I can talk about that. I've coached multiple sports. Basketball is my real big thing. I'm actually still a referee, and I'm planning to maintain that. I'm a Division II men's and women's, and also community college. And that's something I'm going to pick up in Idaho, and also high school. I really enjoy working in high school just to keep me a part of that. As an administrator, the basketball has really served me well. And again, kind of a jack of all trades. I've really done everything when it comes to administration, special ed, federal grants, superintendent, obviously, business manager, which a lot of superintendents don't have underneath their belt, head of curriculum. So all those things I think really have, it just ended up being a great fit for Lakeland, because, I can speak pretty much all those departments and have a really good understanding of how they all work together to serve our kids.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I'm really interested. So you made the leap from food and beverage manager to jumping into education. Talk to me a little bit more about that. What made the transition? And and the reason I asked about this is I did a similar leap. I was in food and beverage management and hotels, and then jumped into education at one point in time. So I'm curious what brought upon that transition, and what are the pieces that maybe from that piece of your career journey have you brought into education?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. Because I started in food and beverage when I was, 14, 15, I was working at the Pioneer of all things. I knew the owners, the Lardis, who also owned at the time the Pioneer up in Las Vegas. This was in Laughlin, Nevada. So it was great. I got a job there. They asked me to work there, and started as a busser, and I just worked my way up. When it came to working at the Grand Canyon, I did an internship at Pima Community College in Tucson, and I got to work everything in food and beverage, including a cocktail waitress, which I made great money that one night. They never let me do it again, but it was a lot of fun. But then the next year they said, look, we have an opening. And I graduated my associate's degree. We have an opening. We'd like you to apply. And I applied, and I was a floating food and beverage manager. And what that means is they had, I think, 4 or 5 different sites at Fred Harvey. That was the company that owned it. And basically I would cover everyone's vacations. And so it was really neat because I got to work almost every one of the restaurants, one of them being the El Tovar, which was a fine dining restaurant. All the big celebrities would eat there. I met multiple, stars, if you want to put it that way. Pat Riley, Oprah, Allison Cooper was a regular there. So it was really neat that I got to be a part of all that. It's a great restaurant too. But it was also fun working those cafeterias. First time I ever really worked in the cafeteria environment. And then we also had 2 mom and pop restaurants that, one had a little bar to the side, and at Maswick was one of my favorites. But yeah, it was a great experience. What was the jump? Well, I decided, I didn't enjoy phone calls at, 2 a.m. telling me that the oven was broken. So I decided, my wife at the time, we decided she wanted to go back to school. And, so we made the decision to go back to school in New Mexico, where she was from originally, and kind of put us closer to her parents. And so we went back to school. I was looking for a class to fill, and it was Intro to Education, and I was hooked. That was it. I mean, the teacher was a special ed, former teacher, Dr. Rodriguez, and we talked. I did not have a very good experience in school. I'll be honest with you. Until high school, it was a battle. I was in special ed of all things. And it's one of the things I actually tote was a badge of courage or honor. I eventually got out of special ed. It's kind of an interesting story that I want to bother you too much on, but basically it really revolved around a teacher that I just did not get along with. And she basically kicked me out of the class and said, hey, look, when you fail, you can ask me nicely to get back in. It was a graduation requirement. And, I had a really smart girlfriend. No, she didn't do all my homework for me, but she just taught me how to be a good student. And because like anything, it's a skill, right? And, so it was really wonderful. I did a great job. I got the second highest grade in that class. Obviously, I stayed in the regular class. And then I got a track scholarship that moves me into college in the opportunity. I'd had no one in my family that had went to college. It was the first one to actually go into college. But with that, there was a lot of similarities when talking to Dr. Rodriguez. And, I was just kind of hooked after that. He thought I'd be really good at it. And I did, it's funny because I actually got all of my classes done in 1 year. And I got hired out of my student teaching, and, I thought it would be sped, but no, it was actually a history teacher in Arizona. They were in a tough spot. Teachers didn't show up and they needed to fill. And I actually started on Friday, the 13th, October of all things. And so, it was a nightmare at first. I can be honest with you. I knew a lot about, history at the time, but I didn't know a lot about managing middle school kids, and they are smart, and I was not really good that first year, but I figured it out and learned. And by the second year, they already made me the head of the department. But more importantly, I got into coaching, and that was it. I was on the reservation. Basketball was huge. So I always say about the place I work at, White River, and I want to give them a shout out. It was the best 5 years and worst 5 years of my life, just because he dealt with so much tragedy, but he also, there's so many successes, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Wow. That's awesome. There's a lot of similarities between your story and mine with food and beverage. I'm an old IEP kid who did special education. Some of the reasons I'm in education are because of that as well. And it's interesting because, and I want to jump forward to our next topic around shaping district culture, but some of the foundational things I think you learn when you are in service to others in food and beverage, hospitality, whatever it is, right? It's all foundational servant leadership. And then your experience with coaching, right? That comes into how you help people to grow and develop in that consistent piece. Those are foundational blocks to shaping district culture, right? And that's a huge piece to what drives a district towards success.
Yeah, and I love that you're filling in the one part I didn't answer, regards to food and beverage. But you said it. I mean, nice thing is they always say, treat it like a business. And one thing I always tell, people is, look, you can't, there's aspects of the school, and obviously I've done finance, you can, but it's just a different environment. You got to take every kid that walks in. You can't just, you can't say goodbye to that customer, because you just don't like that kid. Cause I was that kid. I was the one that the pain, that kid. And I was awful. Nice thing about, in my experience in education, I've always had that conversation, hey, I know that's a sped kid, but he could be me. And he has great talents. You just have to, really foster him and build those relationships. And more important, the big thing I always talk about with teachers, give them courage, because take one thing that you are not good at. Okay. And by the way, I'm going to test you on it, and I'm going to show everyone your results. And it's going to make you feel really bad because you're not really good, So the one gifted thing, I've always just been natural. I've always been fast. Always been fast. Yep. And I'm the smallest kid on there. I'd outrun you anyway. Didn't make any difference. Yep. Hence why I got a track scholarship. But I said, look, I don't have to work at that. I mean, if I work at it, I get better at it. But it's just, I challenge even the kids in my previous district. I'll outrun you. I'm, 57 years old. I'll still outrun you, So, yeah. So anyway, thank you for definitely bridging those two together.
When you think about Lakeland Joint School District, how would you describe the culture there as you're you're getting woven into the community? Tell me a little bit more about the district's culture.
Well, the really good thing, and I always say this, and I've said it over and over again, I chose Lakeland before they chose me, or at least Rathdrum. My wife and I had selected a house, like I said, a 3-year plan. We bought the house. I actually held off on renters because we had first year they moved out in April, and held off on renters with the idea of maybe I might get a job. And then the job for the assistant soup popped up. I'm like, hey, this would be a great opportunity. Obviously, my experience. I have multiple things I've done. I think it'd be a great show. And I got an interview, called for an interview. And I think I'm going to interview for the assistant soup. Well, I did, but I guess at the time, the superintendent, she resigned. So now they call me and say, look, you've got superintendent experience. Are you interested in interviewing for the superintendent job? Okay. So we went through a 3-hour interview. It's the longest interview I've ever been a part of, with multiple sets of people, administrators, parents, and teachers. And it was fun. I didn't get the job. My assistant soup got the job, Jake Massey, and deservingly so. He's an up and comer. He's just a great asset. He's been in the district for 6 years. The people made a wonderful choice, but then they gave me the call of, hey, look, you didn't get the job, but, and like, wait, there's no buts. I'm done. Right. And I said, no, we'd like you to come back up. I was flying up on a pretty regular basis. And I said, no, we'd like you to come up, interview, and get the job, and that, or at least, compete to get the job. And then I did get the job. So, yeah. So anyway.
That's awesome. Yeah. So as you have kind of made this approach, you've entered the role, as you've been trying to build out and get a better pulse on the culture and start to connect those pieces, what have you seen as been, some of the small leadership behaviors that have lended to the biggest impact so far?
Well, and again, I didn't fully address your question. I was going through my head and just trying to, put it all together. But that situation really helped me to see what the culture was like. Obviously, I'm dealing with 3 sets of people, and they're not really sharing things out, but it's nonverbal stuff that you witness, just cautionary things like that. We went through a pretty difficult levy, from what I understand, a lot of hard feelings and all that. So, the culture when I came wasn't, at least on the outside in, didn't appear to be very, very strong. Whenever you're a leader leave, and especially the second leader leave, you're really concerned. And to some degree, do I even want to apply for this position? Because, obviously there's some issues with leadership, and basically supporting, your district in that regards, because why did they leave in the first place? And, and I did the research, and one retired, the superintendent retired. The other one has moved on to California and is doing well there. But I was definitely concerned about, the culture. And so the things that I've done to, a part of the team has done is we've implemented what we call an ACT statement, which is something I've done in every district that I've worked at. I've worked 5 different districts, and of the 5, 3 of them are really dysfunctional. And I'm not saying that Lakeland is. In fact, I will tell you it's the best out of all of them. But there's a few things we had to get clear. Number one, we had to figure out a way to better act toward each other. So we came up with an acronym. It's called TRUST, is the acronym. And I picked the word, but they picked what was in it, because I really felt after watching board meetings, after watching, people interact and things like that, I just felt like, we needed to build trust back. And, so what it means is, the T is trust, because bottom line, if we don't trust each other, we're not going to be a great team, and that builds the culture. Respect, obviously we all, and what that looks like, it just depends on the person, but for the most part, we're going to respect each other. When we talk about the U, we're talking about, Unify, and then, because obviously if we're better together. The S is succeed or success, celebrate those successes. And even in the bad times, let's lift each other up. And the last one is being transparent. If you're going to work in Idaho school districts, you want to be extremely transparent, and you want to be open and honest, but you also want to have good judgment with your conversations. And so we've implemented that. The leadership team created it. We shared it with principals. They made a few adjustments. It's in their principals' newsletters. We're going to say it early and often. We talk about trust conversations and acting every day with trust. The board did approve it too, so they're on board. So we're really excited. So that hopefully will create, if we're all on board, it'll create the environment, I say sandbox, that we want, to have that great, to have a very nice sandbox, or do you want cats in your sandbox, messing up your sandbox or whatever else? That's what we always talk about. So there's the culture component of it. And yes, that's the number one thing as a superintendent or as a leader, your actions definitely do set your culture. And I want to set a culture of just a bunch of trust, respect, unified, supportive, and being transparent. And I'm going to live it and learn it and do it on a regular basis.
Yeah. I think that's so incredibly important, right? To, and really like coming together all around a unified approach that not only connects to the cultural components of what you're trying to implement and execute across the district, but really this acronym with trust, respect, unified success, and transparency, like that really applies to everything across the district in terms of academic success, so on and so forth. I think that's huge to organize and kind of champion that team coming together. And it's really interesting that you connected it to getting principals' involvement, because when you think about the role of principal and building all the leaders, like how do you, they are really a crucial element, in my opinion, to kind of reinforcing district culture. So talk to me a little bit more about how you did that and just kind of the role that they play in terms of district culture.
Well, great question. And I told you I'm a jack of all trades. I have actually been a principal at the high school level, which is where I started in administration. Actually started as an athletic director, but then a principal high school. Then I've also been a middle school principal, and I've been an elementary principal. So most people can't say they've done that, and I've done that. And it was really great to come into those principal conversations and understand that I can speak principal with them and the expectations for each level and the challenges that each level has. As in, what did it look like when it's sharing the information? I basically said, look, this is what our leadership team, that's our directors, our assistant superintendent, we come up with this, and we said, we sold them on it. We said, do you want to create a better environment for our kids? And they said, absolutely. And one of the hesitations that you always have as a superintendent, you never want to throw more onto their plates. Everyone is really busy. Obviously we took cuts. So guess what? We have to there's an amount of work that has to still be done. And we just have to, it doesn't go away. We just have to separate it out, and share it out and give the best product we possibly can. So with that said, we talked to principals and said, look, take a look at the words themselves and what they mean, and if you think it's applicable or not. And you said it too in regards to it hits every facet of your school when it comes to it. And then the overall vision is pretty simple. And I put it in one of the reporters that first interviewed me. I said, no respect to my board. I appreciate the opportunity here, but I don't work for them. I work for kids first. I still work for them, but I work for kids first. And it's not a cliche with me. It really is about every decision is wrapped around that kids first. And sometimes as adults, we kind of get in our own way. And we forget that really important component of we work for kids first, and the parents are important to us. By all means, we're going to listen to them. They are their number one teachers. All the research says that, and I'm a father of 5. I get that. And the community too, I appreciate their tax monies and the levies and, and what they've contributed. We're going to be very responsible with those monies, but we're also going to put them where we think we need to use them the most, and get the most bang for the buck in that. And I hope the community will see if the kids are taken care of, we're putting kids first, that everyone else, parents and the community, are all taken care of in one. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's huge. Like, that's why we do what we do, is kids are always first. And it's difficult today, especially with all these sort of competing interest things and getting in there, and makes the job even more challenging, especially as leaders. When you think about the sort of acronym with trust, and you think about making, strategy become actionable, executable things, right?
Yep.
Can you talk to me a little bit about your thoughts and your district strategic plan, and tell us a little bit about what are your ideas and goals? Where do you want Lakeland to kind of go from here? And what does that look like?
Well, there's multiple levels, of course.
Yeah.
I'm going to start at the district level. The directors, assistant superintendent, and me, myself, we are in service to the entire district. Well, our job is to hopefully make your job easier and get to the resources that you need to best serve kids. Okay. At the school levels, it is to empower our principals. So they can make decisions. Being a principal at all those different sites, I understood the value of being supported as a principal and the initiatives that I'm trying to put into play, and then also to be responsive of their data and their kids at the school level. And the last part is and I had to be reminded of this when I first started as a principal, is basically the foundation of your school, because these people stay around. They work usually the longest, when it comes to your district, but it's our classified staff, and understand what the value of them and what they do. The bus drivers, the custodians, to make sure that everything's clean, the facilities, the staff that make sure everything works. And don't get me wrong, teachers are extremely important in all this, but they can't do their job if they don't got the heat on. I would say air, but I guess we don't have air in the entire, we have 3 school sites. We have actually air conditioning, but it's about getting the kids here, busing wise, and making sure everything's clean, I think it makes it so, I love it because it does. It makes us so dependent on each other to actually have a great environment and put our kids first, our students first. Yeah. So, yep.
Yeah. And I think that's such a good point with those classified staff that, really some of the work that they're doing connects directly to the mission and visions of our organization. And they're just achieving that mission vision in a very different way than what our teachers and our principals and our leaders and those folks are doing. It's not any less valuable.
Right. And you said it in a different way, and I get that, but to me, it's all, they're still teachers. I mean, they're not certified or anything like that, but they're still teaching. They're teaching, when you walk in your bathroom, it's clean. If it's a mess, well, we just taught a kid that's okay. And it's just not. And getting back to the strategic plan, ultimately what you want to do is really the comparison with other districts and trying to, I hate to put it this way, but it's really true. It's just about outperforming them. One of the conversations I had with a board member, his sole purpose is to be the best in Idaho. I'm very competitive. Obviously, I coached, I played, and I want to be the best too. And how do you be the best? Well, number one is we're putting students first. I keep saying that over and over again. But what does that look like? Well, academically, that we are giving them the tools to be to be anything you want to be. If you want to be a welder, which I have a son that's trained to be a welder right now, you can do that. You want to be a school administrator, which I have a son, and please don't hold this against him. He works at Sandpoint High School, which is our rivals when it comes to Lakeland. But he's done that. I have another son that's an engineer. I have another son that is a teacher, mathematics teacher. He's the head of the department, really big high school, 1800, and he's relatively young, 27 years old. But we gave them enough as parents with the expectations, but the teachers gave them enough for them to go on and be successful. And that's what I hope at Lakeland. We give them that and then some, and hopefully that makes us better, or the students better overall. And the thing you talk about culture, I want them to understand as adults, we're role models. And if we're not treating other adults right, and if you don't think they notice, you're wrong. They absolutely notice on that. And I think that's a part of being the best. Another part is all our extracurricular activities. We have multiple extracurricular activities. And yes, I'm a jack of all trades. I've been in band. I was in band. I was a drum major in high school, but I've also played football. I've also ran track. I was also on the chess team of all things. And I was one of the highest rated players in Arizona. So all of that encompasses and makes us a great district. What I hope is we can find ways to even get better. And the data says that. I mean, academically, we're in the, top 10. But I think everyone knows if we come together with our trust, it basically even makes us better and supports our kids. And then set those, whatever those goals are, can we beat them? And, we're going to approve our continuous improvement plan with the board. And there's a lot of conversation about our specific our data and using that data to hopefully, we might not reach those goals, but we're sure going to reach and try hard to get them, because if we do hit them, that's great. But even if we don't, it still means we're improving. So,
that's a great point. So let's dive. So in your time as an athlete and as a coach, I can really see how that starts to weave into your leadership and your leadership style and those different things. So when you're thinking about these big goals, like being the best and striving for even further accomplishment, even though your district is already performing greatly, but getting better. How do you connect those big goals to make them relevant to teachers and principals and show them how they contribute?
Well, it really comes down to the culture of what you want, and the expectations of what you want, and you're absolutely right. You make a really good point, and you didn't say it this way, but I'm going to say it this way is I can't myself make those changes. You're absolutely right. It is the leadership. It is those principals. It is those teachers jumping on to the same goal. The funny thing is I think we even through whatever strife I saw there in the levy and all that, I think we ultimately all want the same thing. We really do. We're all partners in trying to achieve the very best for our kids and putting our students first. So I don't think it's far reaching when it comes to the expectations. I can tell you, I know principals pretty well. I know I've only been there 3 months. They are extremely intelligent. They're hardworking. They were the top of whatever they were doing anyway, because that's why they're principals in the first place. They're probably even more, I don't know if they're more competitive, but we're about the same level when it comes to it. And I understand, losing is a part of being in athletics, and I've lost a lot. I coached, for multiple years. I lost a state championship by 2 points. That was heartbreaking. It is what it is. But the best part about those experiences is that you learn from them. And that's the nice thing about trust. Coming from trust is that, and that's the support part, is look, we might not have reached the goal, but hey, look, we're going to keep trying and learning why we didn't get to that goal in the first place. And then if we hit it, which is exciting, because I've had a couple of districts I've been at that, one of which the high school district I was at, I was honored as one of the top performing principals in the state of Arizona. And these are, Phoenix is huge, it's Tucson's huge to be recognized that. And all I did is took a small little high school and we just changed our scores and just made them better. But how did we do that? I asked kids to make it important. And then we posted our scores up and we said, look, we can beat this every year if we want to. And then there were some other motivating factors of other high schools that we were very competitive with. Yeah. And could we beat them too? And it was infectious to see everyone jump on board. They all knew the goal, the objectives, I should say, and just to watch the growth. And I'm hoping this district will jump onto the same, ride, I guess. And again, we don't have too far to go. I would tell you that one district, we have a long way to go in that. So,
wow. So kind of sticking with that, when you face barriers in moving that vision forward, how have you overcome that in the past, whether even just as an individual principal building leader or just moving any teams? Like, I know that with being where you're at for a few months, but knowing that your past experiences, how have you moved through those things?
Well, that's a really good question. And it's not easy, but a lot of it is identifying the people that, sorry, my assistant soup gave me a thumbs up. So I'll give you a thumbs up too. It's not easy, but it is through building relationships. Knowing that we don't always agree to agree, we can disagree. But the bottom line is, if you're going to work for our district, we have a vision in mind, and we'd sure love you to get on board. And if you build that rapport and relationship, I always say that as a principal, I'm going to run through a wall for you to get whatever you need. And I'd surely appreciate if you come with me when I ask you if we need something, you can join into that. And I see that at Lakeland 100%. And I'm not, and again, it's only been 3 months, but they want to be successful. And that I think most of them want to be the best. We call it aligning our arrows. It's a vision of arrows going in multiple directions. And my job is to hopefully straighten us out and all move in the same direction. Because if we all move in the same direction and we're all following trust and we're all making students first, what's going to stop us from being the best? It's nobody, because it's an expectation for the kids when they walk in the door. It's an expectation for a parent walking in the door. It's if we're hiring a teacher, it's the same way. Me as a superintendent, it's them saying, Rusty, we want more from you to be the best. And it's kind of like I said, it's all related.
Yep. Yeah, and those relationships are such a critical part to that, right? You built this foundational with trust as you've moved into the district, and even just being there 3 months, it gives people sort of a flag to carry and what you're striving towards those goals. So as you look at the next 3 and 6 months, there's continuing relationships that as the head of the district, you've got to continue to build those out. Talk to me a little bit about kind of presence, like how are you building more of those relationships within the community, within the district, and what does that look like? What's the plan?
It's a lot of work. Let's put it that way. It's a lot of work. I'll be honest with you. A lot of it is it's about, I can say it all I want. It's what a conversation I have with my assistant soup. I can say it all I want, but until I go out and do it and demonstrate on a regular basis, they're going to reserve their trust. And I get that. So I have to earn it right now. Why would you give it to me right now? It doesn't make sense beyond, look, I'm just a good egg and I just want to do my job. So yeah, here you go, Rusty, you have it. And I'm going to give you my very best. But as the superintendent, I'm going to be out. I'm going to be out and about. I'm going to follow through with my my words and my actions. I'm going to, like I say, I'm going to follow trust and be its champion all the time. And I'm not going to say it. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to put the hours in to do it. I average about anywhere from 12 to 13 hours a day, which is just, to me, I love work. So it's not a big deal. And it's my dream job anyway. So why wouldn't I do it? So, but that's how I'm going to do it. In the next 3 to 6 months, I'm going to continue to reinforce that this is me. Those words are not just an acronym. that we send out, or just paste on a wall and leave it at that. Those words are everything to me. And we talk about trust conversations, those tough conversations I've already had, and we developed it, passed it. And then I had like 3 the same day, and they were good because they ended up in a good spot, because I said, look, it's time to have a trust conversation. There are a few things that you're not doing, and I need you to do it. And if I'm failing you, you need to have a trust conversation with me and tell me what I'm doing to help you to achieve your goals. So yeah, that's the motivator, and that's the culture that I'm hoping to create. I hold me just as accountable as everyone else. I don't put me here. I put me here. I work for them. I'm in service to them. And that's the theme in our district office, because I've worked for bigger districts, and I know the old things is, well, they put so much red tape in the way, we can't get things done. Hey, look, there's things that are in the way already, federal mandates, regulations, things that you have to follow, guidelines. Right. And so, look, if we have to follow those things, we'll follow them. But if we don't, or if there's a workaround, by all means, we want to streamline things, because I have to give them the resources they need to be successful. That's my job, and I'm going to hold me accountable. If I can't do it, I'm just not the right guy for the job, I guess.
Yeah. I love what you said about taking this trust statement, this acronym that you've kind of established, and then putting action behind it, specifically in relation to like the relationships in the community you're building. So many times when I talk with leaders and how they're building it, a lot of times it's just us as leaders showing up, right, for our folks, like, and showing up in the essence of not just putting the banners out and putting the mantras out and those different things, but actually going above and beyond that and showing up to actually be present in those, and then knowing that our door is open for these types of conversations to have when we don't succeed, when we inevitably fail, because that will inevitably happen. I think that's a huge piece of it with our team.
Yeah. I mean, everything I praise my team, because they've just gotten me through everything. Obviously, I'm moving from Arizona to Idaho, and it's been a transition. And there's a lot of things very similar to in Arizona. So, it's just the team. They've all supported me. They've all demonstrated trust. And the thing is I really truly feel like they want me to succeed, because they know if I succeed, they're going to succeed. And it's just going to be a great environment for everyone. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So when you think about like the future vision and legacy a little bit, like what does a healthy, thriving Lakeland Joint School District look like in 5 years? What is that idealized, healthy, thriving district?
Well, it's exciting. Yeah. And the reason why it's exciting me, and some people can't see that far down the road, but I have been blessed that I've been a part of a couple of districts that we've turned around. We actually, and I say we, the team, not just Rusty, we just turned around. It was just a great feeling. And like I said, I don't think Lakeland has nearly as far to travel as I've dealt with some other districts. The previous district I had before was definitely a lot further to travel than Lakeland has. As in the vision, there's a lot of talk about growth, and obviously we got and in Arizona there was a point in time where a lot of growth was coming to our area too, but then tailored off. And I don't know if that's going to happen here, but right now it doesn't look like it. Right now it's just about making housing affordable. So it would be great, because you hate to shrink, but it'd be great to maintain our numbers when it comes to our students, because that's basically what generates a lot of our revenue. So shrinking is not what I want. I do want to see more families move in, so they can support our school, but more importantly, so we can support them. It just be the great partnership. As in the community goes, I've been a part of communities where I don't want to say the community has died, but it definitely has deteriorated, and not a lot of support for the school, not high expectations, went through a lot of administration. And it's not fun for anybody. It's not a good environment. So I'm going to try really hard to avoid, I guess, that, and what do I have? What can I do to help avoid that? Well, make sure we have a really good product here at Lakeland, and sell it, and I say sell it, but easy to sell because it's already a pretty good product. It's just preaching the choir at that point. Hey, look, we're a great district. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of our school district? And service our kids the best that we can and get people talking. To me, word of mouth is probably the best selling point that you could ever have. But we can't have word of mouth if we're not following through and meeting, we're testing out one of the highest schools in Idaho. Our academics, our activities are servicing our kids to the point that we're very competitive in everything that we do. And there's a lot of support for our kids through coaching, through teaching, through our janitors, through our bus drivers and all that sense. Again, it's a team effort. If we want to be the best, it's not about me. It's about all of us deciding, we do want to be the best. And to me, that will attract the people that we need, the students that we need, the parents we need, the community members that we need that are fully supportive of schools, because we all understand if we invest into our community, it benefits everybody. And sometimes we get caught up with, I understand taxes are not fun. I pay taxes in 2 states now. But I still understand the value behind it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm excited to kind of to watch and just continue to see the great things that come out of that district, especially with you at the helm, sort of leading and just championing trust across the district. That's such a powerful motivator. As we sort of close out here, is there anything that you would want to share with other leaders, in terms of building a leadership legacy or advice that you've experienced from your own past? Anything that you'd want to share with folks as they're considering, one, leading their districts, and two, maybe they're aspiring superintendents?
Well, and by the way, great question. When it comes to legacy, and I don't know if I fully answered your question previously. I think this is you directing me in that direction. But legacy is interesting. I mean, obviously, it's usually after the fact. You have to reflect on it. I think it is my motivator, and it's why I'm excited about the future. Is because I have such a positive outlook. Because again, here was a guy that was in special ed, didn't like school anyway. And the ironic thing about it, he ends up being a superintendent, because if you would have asked me, I have no idea who the superintendent was at my school. I think I saw him at the graduation. I still can't tell you if it was a woman or a male or anything like that. So, and so as a leader, the reason I even moved up to leadership was I saw the impact you can have on kids. Now, don't get me wrong, you have a great impact on kids. And I was teaching 160 kids on a pretty regular basis in multiple subjects, as I talked about. But then all of a sudden I was the principal, and now I'm ahead of 400 kids, and knowing that my decisions can directly impact those kids. And I'm going to do the work to try to put all the right things in place that are going to service those 400 kids. And then it grew. Then I became a director. And now instead of 400 kids, now it was 1,200 or 1,600, 2,000. And understanding I can impact 2,000 kids by some of the decisions I put in place, some of the programs I put in place, some of the procedures that I put in place, the people we hire and bring in and hopefully inspire, in those sense. That's what's exciting. It's a great crew and here at Lakeland, and and they inspire me to be better every day. And that's what's the exciting part. And that's my legacy. You want to be a leader, and especially as superintendent. I think I just read a report on in Idaho. We're really battling to find, anyone who wants to be a superintendent in the first place. And I went down to, Boise, and we had 25, I think it's anywhere from 21 to 25 brand new superintendents. And a lot of them were from out of state. And it's depressing. And just knowing in that point, and the other depressing part is that a lot of them only last 3 years, So I think, I don't know of any situation where you can develop anything, put it in play, and it work within 3 years, to the level you want it to. I've put some things in play at the previous district, and I've seen tremendous growth with that. But, to inspire leaders, if you want to really make an impact, this is how you can do it. And you want to do it through hard work. That's the number one thing. Yeah. You want to focus. Well, hard work is not the number one thing. Kids are first, but then hard work after that. Because people watch you. They see what you're doing. They see the efforts you're putting into it, and it justifies them putting in more effort. Because they're not going to do it if you're not going to do it, right? In that sense. So be the role model that you would want to hire and inspire, in that sense. I always say, look, I'll take a less talented person, teacher, whatever, as long as they've got a passion for what they're trying to do. They're willing to work hard. They're willing to learn. And obviously they have to like kids. If you're not around, if you don't like kids, you're probably in the wrong job. So hopefully I've answered your question in that sense. And I would tell any people that are inspired to be a superintendent, it is my dream job. It's the greatest job in the whole wide world. And I have a lot of fun at doing it. And, I'm going to continue to do it until it doesn't make sense anymore. So hopefully it continues to make sense. And I'm going to continue to work for as long as I possibly can, because I really like work. Because guess what? It's what they say. You find a job you love, and you'll never work a day of your life. And so every day I come to work. There's some challenging days, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, they're all in that realm where it's just fun. You're making great decisions on working with people. And then more importantly, go out and see those kids smile, give you a hug. It just warms your heart, and it reminds you why you do what you do. Yeah.
Yeah. That important daily reminder is such a critical thing for us as leaders to get out and do that. Rusty,
just a little bit. Well, just one more little side note. I'm sorry. Just one more. Yeah. Those tough days, I go to the preschool, because they love you unconditionally. It's just awesome. Yeah. I haven't done it yet, so that's the good news. I really haven't had that tough day, but I'd tell any superintendent, if you forget why you do what you're doing, just go to the preschool. They'll remind you. It's just great. So I interrupted you. I'm so sorry.
No, absolutely. Well, thank you just so much for sitting down and sharing your story and telling more about the district and what the incredible things you're working on. I greatly appreciate it. So.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Hopefully, this is information that will inspire others, but more importantly, thank you for getting trust out, and for allowing me to explain it, and more importantly, to motivate people that this is so important. And whatever we are, we can be so much more if we invest in trust and believe that we can achieve greatness. I mean, the world there is no limits under those circumstances. Just know that. Okay?
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.